What is up, boxing besties? Welcome back to Xicana Boxing on YouTube. And if it's your first time, hello, my name is Lily. I am an independent boxing journalist, and sometimes I get on here and I yap about whatever topic's going on. Feel free to feel around the vibe and see if you dig it, and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and go ahead and like this video as well. So, with that being said, Shakur Stevenson, he put on a very dominant performance over Artem this past weekend, and even though he seemed pretty happy about his performance post-fight, he even went out with a bang with that t-shirt he wore, claiming that Bob Arum was protecting Lomachenko from an ass whipping from him. He then went to go on a Twitter rampage that night, and I think the day after too. I don't know if he's still tweeting to this day, but that doesn't really scream confident to me. And even though, a lot of people are right, including Shakur Stevenson, in saying that he is a more defensive fighter and that's his specialty, just like you have guys who can only, throw punches and knock out, all they have is knockout power. There's guys who all they have is their defense and their tactical ability, and that's fine. That's fine, right? That's fine. Oh, the thing is, and the valid reason that I believe people are complaining about Shakur Stevenson is that he promised a more entertaining fight than his last bouts. He also promised a knockout this time around, I think because it was his last time with Top Rank, and he wanted to be like, look at me now, throwing my hands more or doing more, right? Engaging more during the fight, and now I'm going to do it not on your platform. So bye, right? Like, that's what I thought we were going to get from Shakur Stevenson, and he promised that in the fight press and fight week, claiming that he was going to stand in there and that he was going to try to get a knockout. So when he goes on Twitter and just starts dragging everyone whose reaction to his fight was just pure enthusiasm, he calls them, names, and it just seems like not something a guy that's confident in his performance that he just gave would be doing. I think that fans have the right to be upset about the fact that Shakur promised a more engaging fight, because Artem, right, he's not really a heavy hitter like that, or at least, Frank Martin said that he respected his power, I believe, but it's not a guy that is going to one punch knock you the hell out. That's not Artem. He doesn't have power like that where one punch is going to get you. So to me, it's I felt like this was going to be, if it wasn't obviously De Los Santos, I expected Shakur to not be trying to engage with a hard hitter like De Los Santos. But with Artem, I just expected a little bit more. And when I watched the fight at home, I thought that was he dominated, right? It was an impressive performance in the way that, yes, he dominated, but he didn't deliver on what he promised, and that's something that I immediately realized after when he hurt him in the 8th or 9th round, and he just kind of let him go, and I was just oh, okay, okay. So that's when I was yeah, that he's lying. Lies, the lie. And if you guys haven't already, and if you're here, you definitely probably know Cigar Talks. So go to Cigar Talks YouTube. They have an interview with Shakur right after the fight the next day in his neighborhood in Newark. So I thought that was a really cool vibe video. I love that video. I loved Shakur's responses. I actually really like Shakur's perspective as a fighter now after watching that interview. But I know he's getting a lot of criticism for leaving Top Rank when they offered him a minimum of $3 million per fight. But I think it makes sense because there's guys like Terrence Crawford, like he said in his interview, right? And Andre Ward, who kind of carved their own path, right? They kind of, yes, got help by their promoters at the time, and then they kind of did their own thing. So I understand why he's taking these steps, and like Mayweather, they obviously FaceTime, but I think these champions were already established in a more secure way in multiple divisions before doing that, before acquiring that level of being hey, I'm gonna move out and I'm still gonna make money, right? And I think with Shakur right now, he doesn't have those opponents that are immediate to him that will make him huge paydays right now on his own without some promoters' help. But the thing that bothered me, I don't care about his money. Like, I never cared about pay-per-view buys and how many tickets are comped. That is none of my business. I don't get a cut of that. I never understood why people care about shit like that. But that's why I don't get why people went there about starting media talking about his money, whatever. What bothered me is that in this interview, he is very clear with us. And I hope he does change his mind in the future because he is a very young fighter and he's obviously very talented. I do believe he's special. I do. But he said it. He said it right there and then. He said, I'm not going to be that fighter who gets in a war just because. Like, he's like, that's dumb. He's literally like, why would I do that? And I think, oh yeah, and from Cigar Talk, he asked them, hey, like, but you had him hurt. Like, why didn't you finish him off? Like, what was that about? And he answered something that, like, is true, but it's like he just validated everyone who said that he's scared. And I don't think he's scared. I think he just chooses not to because he's saying there, he said, a hurt fighter is a dangerous fighter.
Like, even if I want to go in there and just get hit with shots, knowing like, okay, I'm going to just let this nigga hit me. Right. Just to open up more and try to get my shit off there. I'm not that type of fighter, and I would never be that fighter. So if fans are watching me to say, oh, I want to see Shakur get hit, and then give out punishment, it's not going to happen.
And he mentioned Anthony Joshua and how Anthony Joshua, he dropped Andy and, he had him hurt, but a hurt fighter is a dangerous fighter. And what happened next? He's on the floor, right? So it's true what he's saying, right? Like, but at the same time, again, Artem is not that guy that, like, he's going to knock you out with one punch. Like, Shakur, yes, he's going to counter, but take a punch and position you. He's good as hell with it on his feet. He can do it. Like, Shakur, you can take a punch and still get out. And come on, Shakur. Like, we know you can. But it's the fact that he chooses not to. Like, that he's just like, I know that I can box on the outside beautifully and do something clinical. And that's all I got to do. That's all I got to do. And it's like, well, fuck, he's right. And that makes him special because no one can touch him. And you may say he's boring. You may say that. I love Usyk. I love Rigondeaux. So I'm not that market. I'm not gonna call that boring. But what's gonna stop me from watching your fights is knowing that you're just choosing not to go for it. And to me, I think that's where people are offended, especially like in the sport that it's so masculine and so like, like it's all about pride and I'm not gonna go without swinging. I'm gonna go and give it my all, right? So when he's sitting there and he's like, yeah, what the hell? I'm not doing that. Like, I recommend you guys go watch that. He's real. And again, I do like Shakur and I understand his perspective, but at the same time, I wonder who he's going to fight that is going to make him the money he thinks is going to be worth, being a free agent. And maybe that's fine because as someone who quit like the corporate job to just work freelance.
Now I'm a homeless person.
Just so I can have more time. I understand that. Like, I understand money not being the aspect. But in this era where all these upcoming boxers expect millions, it's a little strange, that decision, given that, again, he has to work with another promoter in a way that he's still going to be the one getting a smaller purse, in my opinion, because who's he going to fight besides Tank? And Tank's trying to fight Lomachenko. The only pay-per-view fight, in my opinion, with Shakur that Shakur could be in, Tank. And that's just because it's Tank. Who else is going to be a pay-per-view for Shakur? I feel like if he fought Loma, like, whatever, that or Dennis Berinchik, that would be on ESPN, right? So, or if he fought, he talked even on Cigar Talk. Maybe he'll talk with Eddie. That'd be in Matchroom. So I don't, and who's Eddie gonna put him against? Andy Cruz? Or unless he's gonna move up to 140, like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I do hope that he changes his mind about how the public views him. And as a marketing person, this is my pitch to you, Shakur Stevenson. This is my marketing pitch. Instead of promising your fans like action, right, or I'm gonna knock him out, it would be cool to be like, hey, I bet you don't land more than 5 punches on me. and make it like a bet, make it like a game. Be like, I bet you won't land more than this much on me. And if you do, I'll give you 100,000. And then it'll be like, oh my God. Like, then it'll be like, oh my God, no one can touch him. Your favorite fighter can't touch him. A lot of people are saying, unless it's Tank. And I agree. For the most part. I got to really sit down and think about it. But for like, at the top of my head, probably, yeah. Because he's just that guy. And in the Cigar Talk interview, again, please watch that interview. He talks about having special eyes. And I believe him. Like when he's like, I can see the punches coming. And that's why I'm so great defensively. That would make sense to me. He's just so good defensively. But a lot of other defensive fighters also take risks, right? And I think that's where, again, he loses people. And he has to understand that in this sport, as much as, yes, we can say, this is a beautiful boxing IQ. Amazing. People still have the right to be like, yeah, but that's not for me. I'd rather go watch these two guys that fight like my drunk tios at a barbecue. They're going to want that. Or even if they don't, like a good example in that same card is Keyshawn. Keyshawn showed specifically in this fight against Madueño, was it the guy's name? That he was still trying. And even though he ended up wrestling on the floor and doing the most because the more experienced fighter had, some tactics under his sleeve, you never saw Keyshawn just be like, I'll just box him then. I'll just box him on the outside. And he still tried. So I'm like, hey, like, and the fact that he, again, said it on this interview that he's not going to do that. Like, he's not that guy. He's not going to be that guy that's going to give us wars just because. And again, I don't think we're asking him to. Maybe some people are, porque, some people just like that style. Some people want to see the whole fight be in the middle of the ring. But I think that take a little risk, he's such a great boxer defensively. I do believe he can get in and out. And I hope that he tries. He says that he's working on his power. So I hope that that does help him, especially now at 135. I'm glad that he says he's working on his power. But he doesn't really give the indication that he is going to try to get guys out of there. Like that he's going to put himself out there like that. Like he's going to go out of his way to do it? No. He's basically saying like, I'm going to win. I'm just going to make sure I win and look good doing it. And he does. You can't say he doesn't. He looks good. Great defense. But then what? We talk about make them miss and make them pay. And he's not really making them pay. Like make them pay. Make them pay a little more. Charge them more, Shakur. Know your worth. So that would be my marketing strategy. Be like, hey, let's get some like conversation going. Let's get some bets and let's try to see, how many punches. And again, because of his style, and I hope, another thing why maybe he left Top Rank so that he can have control over his opponents. And I love that for him, right? Because he clearly wasn't happy with his level of opposition, and I really didn't like it either. Besides Oscar Valdez, and besides that, it was like, okay, well, they were kind of just giving him names that were kind of the same with Teofimo. So hopefully now we see him in good fights, and then now we can see. A lot of people say Camarón. I think that's a great fight because I want to see how he can neutralize Camarón, who just comes in and has such great body work. So I would love to see how Shakur adjusts that, and then he can really show us like, look, your favorite fighter who just knocked guys out to the body can't even touch me, right? Like that would be a great marketing point. So maybe he can call Oscar, but Oscar and, Oscar said Shakur all this whole time, and then now he's saying Denis Verinchik because I'm pretty sure that's an easier fight to make now because it's with Bob, and now I'm not even in these conversations, so I'm not even gonna go there. But just let me know what you guys think. And in my personal opinion, I do like Shakur as a fighter, but I covered one of his fights, the Dos Santos fight, and that day I told myself, I'm not going to do this anytime soon, if ever again. Not even that Top Rank doesn't credential me, like they don't like me. But also, just period, like I need him to show me something because covering events that you guys think it's all cool, like we just go to the fights and we kick it. Like, no, we're working. Like we have to do content, we have to ride, we have to do whatever, right? So it's content. So when we have to wait for these guys, or we have to watch a whole fight and it's late, you're like, bro, please. Like, I swear. So that's my opinion on that. Like, great style defensively. But he can do more. And I hope that moving forward, besides just the power that he wants to work on, he does really think, you know what? No, I'm that guy, and I'm going to kick this guy's ass while also landing more punches. So let's hope. But let me know what you think, and what you think of him being so crazy on Twitter to anybody who tells him anything. I don't like the going back and forth with the other guys, the other boxers who ain't shit, like he says. Like, he's right. Those guys their career didn't turn out great. So why are you tweeting at them, Shakur? That doesn't seem confident to me. Like, leave them alone. Like, work on you. And I hope that you is someone that at least gives us a little bit more punches, okay? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'll see you guys on the next one. Nos vemos.